Good evening, everyone. My name's Tom Novak, and welcome to Grow and Clip Bonsai for Seniors. Today we're going to do the maple. I'm going to show you how to take these maples and put them in a pot, and we can develop some roots over the winter time. We're going to repot this one that I have in a root maker's pot. But these little ones I found in the yard. This one's got a goofy root system, but I'll show you what we're going to do with it. Now these, you can see with your maples, just by picking the seeds, look at the color they're changing on them. Here's another one, different variety. Well, look at the color on the leaves. And now's the time to pick your moss, because look at how nice the moss is, nice and green. You put it in, put a little rock around it, give it a little decoration. You got a miniature tree for yourself. And anybody can do it. You're the designer. The trees are your design. You're going to grow them as we grow them in nature. Now, this one is a maple also, but it went to dormant already because we got about 37 degrees this morning and the temperatures were dropping. But I'm not going to cut it back until the dead of winter. The reason is, one, will prevent any disease from spreading. Two, the plant is dormant. So all the energy and vigor is into the root system. So it's like you going to the hospital and they're operating on you. You won't feel a thing. So when I trunk prune this in the spring, it'll wake up. Oh, I got to grow leaves. But it'll never know it was cut. And if you can see, when I rub my finger down, you got a little node there, a little ring. That's the brain. I'm going to cut it about that much so I can keep my tree miniature. And for those of you that don't want to overwinter the trees in the house, you can get a little container, drill some holes in there, put some moss on the bottom, put some styrofoam around the top, glue it on. And all you do is put your tree inside the pot. Then you fill it with leaves. And by filling it with leaves, it'll help insulate the plant from getting, from the roots from being all frozen. So these are just a little bit of tricks that you can do. Now, for these two trees, look at the taproot on them. And we're going to cut it back. But I'm not going to cut this until the winter time. I'll rub my finger on there until I find the little rings on there. There's a ring over here, so I'd cut it right about there so we get a small tree. But that's in the dead of winter time. So first we're going to get some ordinary potting soil that you can get in the store. You're going to take and fill it up. A pot. By the way, in the pots I put some paper towels. They'll seal up the drainage holes and to help keep the water from draining out. So once I got it in, I'm going to squish up the soil, make it nice and pliable, push it down. And then I want to get a nice radial root base. I don't want no more roots growing straight down. So another trick to doing that is to take a rock and what I did is I put the rock in the middle. This way here, if something tries to grow straight down, it'll be forced to fan out. Now, before I put any more soil in, your scissors, because right now we're going to be cutting the roots and everything, and we don't want no diseases spreading from plant to plant. We're going to dip and clip. And by doing that, we take some hydrogen peroxide, dip your scissors in there, and I don't even take them and dry them off, because this way here, whatever disease is on the plant, it'll knock it off and stop it from spreading. So what we're going to do now, you can see how long this taproot is, but right over here, we have some nice feeder roots. So I'm going to cut right about here. And we have it. And look at the curve on it from where I pulled it out. All natural because it was reaching for the light. So it tries to grow according to where it can find the light. And this was being blocked by a bunch of plants, so it naturally curved itself. So what we're going to do, we're going to put it in, spread the root a little bit. I'm going to take our cup, and right now I have the taproot resting on the rock. So all I'm going to do is put the soil in. This is just regular potting mix. And for maples, that's alright because they love water. That's why when you get trees planted in the front of your house, and if they're a maple, and your sewer lines run to the street, how do you think your sewer lines get clogged? From the roots from the maple, because they love water. So if it's dry, they're going to head straight for your sewer lines. So if you have one in the front of your house, make sure you give it some good watering so it doesn't do that. So right now I have it in. I got it just a little bit higher, so now I just press it down. Don't worry about how it is right now because it's going to go dormant, and you can always repot this later in the spring. So then we can take our Mr. Bottle, get our soil good and wet to start. Now, if you can afford it, I found this in the store for 10 bucks. It's a half-gallon sprayer. So all you do is pump, squeeze. You can make the spigot any spray you want, and we just water it. Now because the soil is dry, it's going to take a while to seep in, so we're going to let that seep in, and we're going to do the next one. So all I'm going to do is fill this pot up again. Pack in the soil real good. I'll find me another rock. If you can't find a rock, it's a piece of brick. Put the brick in the pot, and that'll help spread your roots out so the taproot doesn't have a tendency to go through it. It'll keep a nice radial root base because that's what you want for your trees, because you want to develop those feeder roots. So on this one, you can see how crooked it was into the pot. So I'm not going to try to cut too much off. I'm just going to place it in. Take a little more soil out. Put the brick in because this will have to develop on its own. If I cut all the way back to here, there's no feeder roots. So we're going to try to let it grow this way and see what we get in the spring, and then we can develop the root system. So right now, put the soil on there. This way here, we can try and develop a nice radial root base from this little cutting. Now we want this to get a lot of vigor. And then what I'm going to do is take a rock and help hold this back in place. The same goes for this one. I'll take a nice rock out of here and keep it back. so we can hold our trees in place for the winter time. If you can't afford the mister, use your mister bottle and just spray. Until everything soaks up good. And then you can see how the water's pooling up so the soil is excessively dry. So what I'm going to do is just keep watering these late during the evening until all the water can run smoothly out of the pot. Now we're going to go for our other maple. You can see it's changing color. That's a nice little maple tree. This grew naturally. There's no wiring done to this. This you find in little nooks and crannies where the tree tries to reach for light. So when you take your walks, look for little seedlings and just admire the way they grow. And if you like it, and if it's on somebody's property, ask first before you dig it out. And then you'll have a nice little tree. Something simple, something nice. And remember, you're the designer. You're the individual that's going to make the tree into what you think it grows in nature. So this one here, if I wanted to in the spring, see where the little growth is coming out over here? I can cut it just above here, just to prevent from dieback. But always dip your cutters in hydrogen peroxide to do the clipping. And once you do that, you wash it off and it'll be all right. Now, let's see how the roots look on this one. So what we're going to do, because this is a root maker's pot, so we're going to take and use the chopstick to get our tree out of the pot. And with the chopstick, it helps get the roots dislodged so you can at least get the tree out. Okay, so let me scratch off some of the soil from the roots. Now we're not going to do any root trimming now because it's too late in the season. We want these roots to grow. Because even though the top dies, if you keep your bottoms warm like in the styrofoam, or if you keep it in a nice little spot where the sun hits this, even though the cool weather starts to tell the tree to go dormant, your roots are still growing until you get a nice hard freeze. But the roots will keep growing. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but this is the root maker pot. And you can see how fine these roots have taken off. Not too bad. Nice radial root base. And with that pot, you can see there's no taproot. Nice radial root base. And this is what you want. Now, I have my pot. I got my screen in the bottom. And what I'm going to do is first take my spray bottle and moisten the roots. And for those of you who can't afford bonsai soil, use the cactus mix. It'll provide excellent drainage. During the winter months, I'll show you how to make your own bonsai soil. So all I'm going to do is take my little measuring cup, sprinkle some into the pot, and then we're going to try to position our tree I think this would be a nice front. Well, either way, both fronts look pretty good. But we're just a little bit low, so I got to build it up a little bit more. And since these are a little dry, I'm going to take and wet the soil down a little bit so that let's have good contact with the soil. Okay. And I'm going to offset it just a bit. I got my roots spread out. And I'm just going to offset the tree a little bit in the pot. Then I'm going to start filling in the soil. Always trying to make sure, see how nice and flat it sits without me even holding it? That's when you get a good radial root base. So we're just slightly off a little bit. Take your soil, put it in. Now I'm going to take my chopstick and push the soil into the root base so we get all the air pockets out. You don't have to buy all those fancy bonsai maple trees that they sell. Just go take a walk. Now's the best time to do it because you can see the colors. You'll want one that has yellow leaves in the fall. Go buy and get the seeds in the spring. You see some that have a nice fall red color. Grab the seeds in the fall. I mean in the springtime. But walk in the fall. This is the best time of year to check out your trees and see the color and everything. And you have a tree instead of paying $25, $30 or $10 for a seedling. This one's free. Okay, so I got that pretty well. And what I'm going to do is give it a little squirt with my hand sprayer. I know some of you with arthritis this is going to be hard. So you can always use your bottle and squirt it in. But if you can lift and pump, this is the easiest. You don't have to fill it all the way up. You can fill it about quarter of the way. So it's easier for you to lift. And by pumping this, you don't have to keep squeezing. And you just press the trigger. And just spray until you get water running out the bottom. Now I'm going to take some more soil and fill it up. And you have a quick, easy bonsai tree, and all it cost you was the pot and the soil to put it in. And the screen you can get from the hardware store if they're throwing out old screens, or you can just buy a little bit, or if anybody got some old screen that they're getting rid of, ask them for it. Now, it's good to have a paper towel with you, because then all you do is take it, rub it around the edge of the pot to get most of the soil off. And there you have it, a nice little bonsai tree. Now you can see that if you get most of the air pockets out, you don't have to wire these things into the bottom of the pot. See? By getting all the air pockets out, you're good. Now to prevent it, because it's just potted from the wind blowing it out of the pot or anything else, or from the wind taking the whole pot and everything and knocking it over, what you're going to do, you can take some rocks, just for the time being, And then just put them around the pot. Until the roots get established, which should be about a month, depending on the weather here. All you do is water it in real good. And you'll have it. Now see, by watering it in, soil went down a little bit, so you tap it. Now if you can get sedum, I cut all this off my other bonsai trees. This is the sedum. And there is no soil in here. That lived for 2 weeks with no soil. All I did was keep it wet. So with these, you can see how they just start their little feeder roots. And what I'm going to do, just for a little decor, now sedums are strong and hardy, so they'll survive our Chicago winters and those of you up north. So this is pretty good stuff. These are so packed and growing together. You can see the roots just by sitting in the pot how they're growing. So what I'm going to do is just put it in. Take a little more soil. Put it around them. Just cover them and they'll root. They'll root good. Okay, and then you take your rocks. Put them in. Give it a little squirt to hold the soil in to keep it stable. And you don't need it that tall. So we can just remember to dip and clip. And then just put this piece that you clipped, because it'll root. Punch a little hole. Put it in. Press. Put your rocks around it for now, because we're not going to decorate it because it's going into the winter months. I just want everything to be held in place. You don't have to spend money on wire. For what? As long as you get the air pockets out of the root system and you get the tree into the pot real nice and easy, get all the air pockets out, you're going to have a good tree. And a good strong tree in a pot without wiring. So take a walk and look for the trees that are growing in the sidewalks and wherever else, and find one that has a shape. If you like a nice strong trunk, try that. So all I'm going to do is give it another wet. And just for a little decor for the winter time, I made my own top dressing, which I took like 1 part worm castings, 1 part peat moss, and 4 parts sand. Now let's just see what it looks like, and then I'm going to dress this up. You can see how nice it looks. And this will give it a little bit of decor for the winter months. And all you do is put the sand around it, a little top dressing. It'll give it a little sprucing up. Don't worry about getting it on the rocks. You're going to take your spray bottle, it'll all wash off. This will be a nice little tree. Take your spray bottle, rinse the rocks off, push everything in. Now there's no water coming out as of yet. So what I'm going to do is take my little homemade watering can. This will rinse everything off real nice. Make sure I'm watering my newly transplants. Putting the water on the rock helps to move the water evenly around the soil. And then got my old spoon with a ball on the end. And I'll just tap in the sand around the rock and around the sedum. I mean, this stuff will grow. I mean, if it can root in there without any soil, it's going to root for you easily. And just wipe your edge real nice. Now here's a nice little inexpensive bonsai tree that you can make for yourself. You got the sedum, you got the rocks that you find when you take a walk, you got the tree that you find when you're walking. Water's going to start to drip, as you can see right now, so I'm going to put it down. And you'll enjoy the fall colors. And then once it's into the dead of winter like this one, I can cut them back. So if you see this, I'm going to cut just above here in case there's a little dieback. And you got your own little bonsai trees. So next video, I'm going to show you the crepe myrtles. Look at a nice fall color on it. Nice red. This is a Tonto crepe myrtle from the crepe myrtle guy, Clint Cotton. This is going to grow real nice. They got red leaves, red pot. Matches. So you got twofold. You got nice flowers during the summer on new growth and nice foliage in the wintertime or in the fall. So I hope you learned a little something on this video. This one I'll put in a nice area for the wintertime. Put leaves around it. Put it with a bunch of other trees. Put in a little container. Make sure I got holes in it. Put the leaves on top so it keeps the roots from freezing. And then in the dead of winter, I'll just go out and cut it. They'll never know the difference. So I want to thank you for coming to my video today. Today's Friday night, big band night. Put on a little Glenn Miller. Have a nice hot cup of tea. Take your partner, push the table on the side, and have a little dancing with her. So you take care. This is Tom Novak for Grow and Clip Bonsai. Thank you for coming to my little workshop. Take care.